Hello, thank you guys so much for clicking this video today. I really appreciate it. It's going to be an exciting one. I'm here with Fergie from IO Research, and they have a proposed roadmap for the future of Cardano. Some developments that they're going to propose and maybe bring to the Cardano community. And this podcast is going to be kind of digging into that research a little bit, see what they're proposing, and asking some more questions and giving you guys the chance to learn more about this research. So, if you have any feedback, you can put it down below. We're going to have tweets out about this too. You can put it there. They're looking for feedback on this research, before it essentially goes to market in the budget proposal. So how are you doing today, Fergie?
Hey, I'm great. It's great to be here. It's a sunny day in London, UK. So spring is upon us, and yeah, looking forward to our discussion.
That's awesome. There's nothing better than seeing the sun shine through after a cold winter. So really, just to get right into it, what's your background at IOG?
Yeah, so I work in the research team. I joined last July, so that's July 24. So I'm about 8 or 9 months in. My background is actually more broader in emerging technologies or deep tech, as it's sometimes called. So taking a lot of those programs and products to market, and often through exciting new startups as well. But yeah, I'm on the research side, and I'll explain a bit more about team's makeup and stuff. But really helping get that research out of the lab into the market, as it were.
Awesome. Yeah, and that sounds like a hard job. I mentioned this in our previous call, but we've kind of been doing some development, and it changes, and so I'm definitely excited to learn more from you. What is the timeline that IOG is kind of going to propose this research for? The development timeline essentially.
Yeah, sure. So research is by its nature a longer term play, as it were. So at IO Research, Input Output Research, it takes us on average about 2 years to publish a paper, and that's pretty quick by most research standards. But and then obviously with the proposal that we have out to the community for discussion and debate at the moment, which is being administered by the product committee at Intersect, reflects a one year program, as it were. But that 1 year program sits within a 5-year Cardano vision that the research team at Input Output has worked on for over sort of 12 months, I'd say, to pull together. It's pretty extensive. It covers sort of 9 sort of what we call research areas, where we think the market's going, and the critical technologies that are important in a blockchain such as Cardano's. But yeah, we're really talking about sort of the foundational stuff here, the stuff that is core, that is developed over a multi-year framework, and obviously to do that well requires a certain amount of best practice as well.
Okay, among those 5 or those 9 key areas, what would you say, is the maybe top 3 of those areas from the 9 key areas? And how do you guys plan on kind of executing on those?
Yeah, so I know what's being talked about in the community. So Laos is obviously critical, and increasing throughput at a protocol level is really key. I think Hydra as well. Obviously that's a layer 2. So I think that it's about performance and trying to find product market fit. We have some other ones which are a bit more longer term, such as quantum or a post-quantum, which is another research area. And every time there's a big announcement from Google or Microsoft, we get a lot of interest in those.
Mm-hmm.
But those are sort of some of the more topical ones. the ones that are also central that I think the research team would advocate would be obviously the protocol itself, Ouroboros, and perhaps the sort of some of the sort of operating system like work streams that we have that are more central to sort of DeFi and Web3.
Okay, let's start with Ouroboros, if we can. What do you think? What is the proposed direction of Ouroboros as it stands?
Yeah, but if I can come back a bit, if you'll
That's
allow
okay.
me. Well, I think Ouroboros tells a really nice story about the role that research plays. Uh, so, you know, Ouroboros was first, I think the first paper came out in 2015, 2016. I know the Ouroboros papers have had over sort of 3,000 citations. So for the non-researchers out there, that's quite a lot of references. And it's been fundamental not just to Cardano's blockchain, but other layer ones as well. And since that first Ouroboros paper was released, uh, there've been there've been several sort of key upgrades or releases as well. So we called the first one Classic internally, but I don't think it actually had the name. But then Preos was released, and then Genesis is in the process of being released at the moment. And what we're proposing under the 5-year Cardano vision is the final sort of major upgrade, which is called Ouroboros Omega. And that consists of 7 key sort of work streams that sit under that research area. I think the community will be more familiar with some work streams called Peras and Leos, which are currently at innovation stage. So a lot of the research has been done. They're now being innovated on from an engineering standpoint, prototyping and validating that research work in a sort of prototype environment. And then the step after that is then sort of being developed in a real world or targeted implementation environment before it moves on to testnet and then mainnet. But what the reason why I sort of back out a bit is you sort of see the longer term value that developing a protocol like Ouroboros has. I don't know what the price of ADA is today, but this work in the protocol has catalyzed a market cap that's tens of billions of dollars, and that kind of tells the story, I think, really well of what research does. It's not solving today's problems right now. Obviously, we have a role to play there in terms of supporting engineering and innovation, but it's really laying the foundational infrastructure to create significant value, market positioning, and an opportunity over a multi-year framework. But I hope that sort of sets the sort of tone in regards to the role that research plays and what Ouroboros as a protocol is and does, and perhaps a bit of its history. The seven work streams that we have proposed as part of this Cardano vision, I'll just run through them quickly. So we're getting quite technical quite quickly, but Peras, which is all about faster settlement, Leos, which is about increasing throughput. We've got a work stream that looks at fair transaction processing, and with a particular focus on SPOs and other people who perhaps don't hold as much ADA as others, and they perhaps haven't been served as well as they could have done previously. We've also got a work stream on Byzantine resilient networking, so ensuring that there's strong security, particularly at the sort of OSIP layer. Multi-resource consensus under a sort of Minotaur framework is also another sort of research stream, and one typically uses ADA as a resource, but there are other resources that you can use for staking. And then the last 3 are proof of useful work, congestion control, and then sort of sharding as well. So I can dive into some of those in a bit more detail, but hopefully that gives you a bit more of the practical detail at a stream level, and then a bit more overview at a sort of research area around the protocol, just where we are now, what we're planning to go, what we're proposing for the next 5 years, and some of the background history to that as well.
Awesome. I really appreciate that explanation there. When you guys come to develop these things, is this something that, we're mentioning this 5-year period, the proposal's kind of for 1 year. How are these things prioritized? Are they worked on in parallel? What is the priority kind of on those 7 different work streams?
Yeah, so that Ouroboros is one research area, and the Cardano vision proposal over 5 years is proposing 9. And under those 9, we have 34 research streams. So some research areas are larger than others.
Okay.
And I think the prioritization considers several factors. One is obviously market demand. And we often get accused of because of the longer term nature of research, there's always challenges to keep up with where the market's moving, and I can talk a bit about the methodology around that. The other is obviously the resources that we bring to bear. So input-output research is it's an interesting one. So in some ways we're a department or a team, but actually in the real world we're actually a network. So we have about 15 in-house up to about 15 in-house researchers who are excellent in their respective fields, whether that's game theory, whether it's tokenomics, whether it's economics, whether it's cryptography or consensus. We then work with about the same again, and perhaps even more, a number of what we call embedded researchers. So these are researchers that work in various universities around the world, and they are world leaders in their respective fields. So that then takes the team up to sort of about 30 or so researchers, perhaps even more. And then we have a couple of partnership models as well. So we have a partnership model called a technology lab, a blockchain technology lab, and we have labs at Edinburgh and in Tokyo and Wyoming. So under Edinburgh sits a couple of strategic projects. Zero Knowledge Labs is one research group, and then the Edinburgh Decentralized Index, which is another. A lot of the Hydrus work has been done out of Tokyo, and that's really critical. And then Wyoming perhaps has a bit more of an education focus. So that's the lab model. We then also have a hub model too. So that's again out of Edinburgh, but also notably out of Stanford. And that's a bit more about providing grants to PhDs, to research associates for shorter term or tactile projects. And then in addition to the hubs and the labs, we also just have a number of external projects with a number of different researchers and universities. So we work with about 14, 15 universities in total. And we have a flexible, sort of network of how we do that can really sort of bring world-class resources to bear, but also cater for the nature of research work. So I'd say resource is the other one, as the other big one. And then I think when you look at how a research stream evolves, so at the start you're really this is first principles research. So people sometimes get confused with market research or short-term research and sort of putting on a PhD onto a subject for a few months or what have you. This is looking at the heavy duty stuff. And when you start with a research stream, you're starting with a problem statement. And this could go in any direction. It's really at the very beginning there's a lot of risk associated with this early stage development. Like it is you're building your own business. When you're starting off, the business could go anywhere. And as you work on it, the risks decrease and you have a better understanding of where you're going. And the same is true of research as well. But also means that some research streams go down dead ends. Some you have to come back and rethink it and go in other directions. So how each stream progresses also determines what deliverables are upcoming, what papers we're going to be able to publish, and where we prioritize the resources as well. So there's a number of the factors that go into it. What we prioritize, and that's kind of fed into the recommendation that we've made for work program 25, if I can say that. So I mean that's probably a slightly sort of longer answer than you were expecting, but I hope it gives you some of the background context of the decision making.
Well, no, I appreciate it. I don't really have, very much background context when it comes to, research, especially at this scale. Are there other, blockchain entities at your guys' scale in the world that are doing research like this using, the first principles thinking that you mentioned?
Yeah, so we broadly regard ourselves as the leading blockchain research network worldwide. That's certainly reflected in the number of papers we produce. So last year we produced 37 papers that involved 77 researchers. We also attended 25 leading academic conferences, as well as a lot of blockchain events and industry events and conferences as well. We won a couple of Best Paper awards. Agalos won a very notable, Professor Agalos, the chief scientist at Input Output, won a notable award here in the UK. And over the history, the broader research network has received around 10,000 citations in total. So by those metrics, we would argue that we're the leading blockchain research group worldwide. And it's I joined the team 8 months ago. It's some of the weekly seminars that we have. Aglos, the chief scientist, has a weekly meeting as well. The stuff that we're discussing is right at the cutting edge of where blockchain is.
Incredible. How many of these papers have been used in the Cardano blockchain, kind of currently? Like, have essentially been turned into reality. And I'll start with that, but I have kind of more questions from there.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, we did a big end of year report, in January. Obviously, with the relationship developing with the community, with Intersect, we're expecting to do more formal reporting, both mid-year and end of year as well. And I can talk a bit about how that sort of works in terms of accountability and evaluation and what have you. But I know that we've done 238 papers in total. And I think on the Cardano.org website, there's a really nice page that outlines the 50 papers that have been foundational to Cardano through each of its 5-year eras. So that's about a 1 in 4, 1 in 4.5 strike rate, which again is very high. I mean, if you just compare it to startups, as it were, that 1 in 10 go on to each funding round successfully, we're hitting a 1 in 4.5 strike rate, which I think is pretty good.
Okay. How many? I'm kind of curious. Let's on this 1 year timeline, because we're proposing 5 years of research, and then that's going to be kind of cut down into this 1 year proposal that's being presented with in the budget. Correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we've put forward a portfolio of 20 research streams. And actually within our budget, it includes innovation as well as research. So in startups, you have pre-seed, seed, and sort of, C plus or Series A is these sort of big funding milestones that you go through. And they broadly reflect a product life cycle, as it were. So in academic research or sort of emerging technologies, you have an equivalent kind of scale. It's called technology readiness level or software readiness level. It's a scale of 1 to 9. Research is 1 and 2, and that 1 to 3, 1 to 2 or 3, and that's the publishing the paper with any technical specifications and artifacts. As you then mature the stream or the project or the product or the business, then through an innovation phase, which goes from TRL or SRL sort of from 3 up to about 5 or 6, and that's really sort of getting first commercial product to market, first customers, and then from SRL or TRL 6 to 9 is commercialization, and that's sort of equivalent to building up to Series A and going into your growth phase as well. So with the portfolio that we're proposing is the portfolio that we're proposing for this work program 25, it consists of 20 research streams and 6 innovation streams. And you can kind of think of that as your funnel. So
Hmm.
12 of the 34 will be worked on, at the moment. They will most likely run for more than, they'll most likely run for 2 years or more. Some of them are longer, but they will be releasing multiple papers. Um, uh, and yeah, so you're expecting to get sort of maybe 20 papers a year, maybe we've done over 30 last year. That then feeds into deliverables that then anyone from the community can pick up, not just the input output innovation, which has happened historically. That is an asset for anyone in the community, and actually we're working on putting all the papers into a repository and getting an LLM on the top, so that to make that sort of more accessible to everyone. And we're wanting to work with the product committee and other community stakeholders to work more collaboratively about how we can get this research out, make it more accessible, so that anyone can realize it, any innovator, any founder can use it. And then those then feed into 6 innovation streams, and those are high priority, core infrastructure innovation streams. I can the ones, we've got 6 at the moment, which are sort of layoffs. So that is a big, major part of the infrastructure. We've got anti-grinding, we've got fast BFT, and we've got RSNARKs and proof of restake. And those innovation streams will run between 6 and 12 months each, and at the end of those, 6 to 12 months, they will then be validated and handed over to an engineering team to implement. So that's kind of the funnel, as it were. And some of those, of those 20 research streams, as I said, some are a couple of years long, some are a bit longer. This works in parallel alongside engineering and product too. So just because our Hydra work stream or research area is 4 years long, that doesn't mean that your first product versions of the Hydra tail and the Hydra interhead to complement the Hydra head that is in market at the moment or coming into market at the moment. You don't have to wait for that, but the first releases are typically, they're more risk assumptions, and there's some narrower feature sets and perhaps some shortcuts, but you need to do the underlying work in parallel to build this out to a fully functional sort of system over a number of years.
Okay. To kind of, dive into those innovation funds, we got to keep it high level, but I think there's a lot of, new people that have, been around Cardano in the past and educated themselves on some of the research, maybe 3 years ago, but they got busy and they're kind of, checking back in right now and trying to, reinform themselves. So, how does Laos increase throughput for Cardano?
The how I'm going to have to probably defer on. That gets quite technical, and that's sort of is beyond my pay grade, I'm afraid. But I'm
No
happy to
worries.
put this on one or two of the other shows that I've been on as well. Happy to come back with the Laos team and do a follow-up meeting, and we can get into sort of some of the more technical aspects. And Laos is a it's been in research and development for multiple years. It is going to take a year or two to fully develop, so I wouldn't be able to do it justice anyway. But the objective is to get high throughput, so more blocks being processed faster to provide more scale into the Cardano network. That's what I can say.
Okay. And what are the objectives for the other 5 innovation funds?
Yeah, so I'm just pulling them up here. So anti-grinding is about security. So it's reducing the impact of a grinding attack. So that's the sort of second one, as it were. Fast BFT is really looking at finality consensus for partner chains. So it's allowing it's a consensus protocol that allows for fast settlement for for bridges and other types of system integrations. Our snarks, which is the fourth one, is really about allowing an aggregation of multiple proofs into a single succinct proof. whilst providing sort of security, privacy, and scalability as well. And it's got some nice use cases around sort of Halo 2 and some other sort of application, some other proofs as well. And then the last one is proof of restake. So this is really sort of looking at strengthening consensus algorithms to create a more robust, scalable, and secure consensus mechanism. So, they're addressing a lot of core aspects of of the blockchain system, predominantly at a protocol level, but looking at consensus, security, throughput, and a number of other core capabilities as well.
Awesome. I would say about 4 years ago, there weren't, large companies that, have a bunch of information on Cardano or the research or how to implement code. Whereas, times are changing quite a bit. In 2025, there are other organizations that, have knowledge and have experience, in this part of the industry. How does someone help you guys or support this research or these, work streams?
Yeah, so also I'd just like to add that all this information, the Cardano Fission 5-year proposal, 20 research streams, and the 6 innovation streams, all of this is up on the Intersect Research Working Group page. It's also on the Intersect Product Committee page. And I think it's also in the Cardano forum as well with a thread, and there's various comments there as well. So this technical information we're looking, part of joining you today is trying to get this information out into the community to help people understand it who might need a bit of a guiding hand. We're really open to having discussions and debates about it. We're having a number of sort of online meetings over the next couple of weeks to help facilitate that. And that's one way of coming in and joining the conversation is come to, comment on this video, come and, let us know via those pages that I mentioned that you want to be involved in the discussion and the work. So that's something that I'd highlight. I mean, on a practical level, I obviously wear 2 hats. We're very mindful of that at Input Output. So I work on the Input Output research side, and then for Intersect, me and my colleague Nicholas Beery, along with some Intersect representatives, have set up the research working group, and Nicholas leads on our sort of innovation side. So we've set up the research working group that sits under the product committee. So we meet monthly at the research working group, and those details are up on the Intersect webpage. We also sit in the Intersect product committee on weekly meetings. We don't have voting powers or representation, but we're there to provide guidance on the areas that we're knowledgeable about. So research and innovation. Those minutes are publicly broadcast, publicly shared on the website. It's available for anyone to see. And we also do open, both at the product committee level and through other channels and sort of community stakeholders, we do, outreach like this. So it's funny, on the one hand, we're sitting in the research working group thinking, like, how can we get out to other researchers, other universities? How can we create a more collaborative community around this? And I know from the community side, there's some frustrations as well about how can we get access and insight into what's going on. And obviously this Voltaire process is still quite new, it's still quite young, we're learning as we go, but we have a real willing to expand and diversify the Cardano research approach. And I think there's some things that IOG do really well. The big foundational stuff, we have a good track record in. Perhaps some of the more tactical research that's more shorter term, more reactive, more sort of closer to the market in a sense. I'm sure there are probably others better that are out there. So I think it's, we're wanting to have this conversation. We're wanting to get the word out. We're inviting discussion, inviting feedback, inviting criticism. We don't do everything as well as we could. We fully accept that. And yeah, so if you're watching this now, please get in touch via one of the ways that I've just said, and would love to pick up the conversation with you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll include those links down below for you guys to kind of go provide your feedback. I'll also, post the blog post too that goes pretty deep into the different work streams and kind of more about the proposal. What is some of the feedback that you guys have been receiving, lately on the community side? Has there kind of been a lot out there, or are we still in the process of kind of getting the word out there?
But I think uh, we're always working out about how to get the word out better. I think you know we're going through this decentralization process that is Voltaire, and
Yeah.
I think as a research unit we haven't had to or communicate uh, to certain audience segments like we do now. So, and that's largely, I think, sort of SMEs, SPOs, DREPs, startups like yourselves. So, we're really making an effort to get the word out and to connect and to speak to those groups. We've been told we need to get more present on X Space, on X Spaces and on YouTube channels, but to go to where the community's having the discussion. Um, so that's those are sort of that's one feedback we've had. Uh, my video's dropped, but hopefully you can still hear me.
I can hear you just
Um,
fine.
Great. In terms of technicality, sort of, so I've talked about Hydra and the importance of deploying early versions of Hydra now and not waiting for 3 to 4 years for the research. I think that anything that has partner chains or side chains or interchains in it, there are sensitivities around midnight. That goes without saying. It's something that we're aware of. But the work streams that we're recommending um, under partner chains and that area of work are purely driven by Cardano and the benefits to Cardano as a layer one. But I think the community is right to raise those concerns and to challenge those on us. I think frustratingly with research, everyone always wants it now, and that is just the nature of the game. Unfortunately, is these areas of investigation, to do it right, to do it well, take time. Anyone can go fast, but not anyone can be secure. And Cardano is the securest blockchain out there, and now we have to, security first, and now we have to work out and work with the community about how we can get faster as well. So those are just some of the areas, but we've had a lot of really exciting feedback around the protocol, around supporting DeFi and as an operating system. And tokenomics too is something I'd flag as well. It's still an area, despite blockchain, for the main being sort of around for 10 or 20 years. It's or 10 years plus, 10, 15 years. It's tokenomics is still very under researched. And I think the tokenomics that we have as an ecosystem in Cardano, still requires a lot of foundational research and understanding to develop a pathway for it to be sustainable, not just for this year or next year, but for the next 10, 20 years as well.
Is that one of these kind of streams, tokenomics specifically?
I've got my camera back.
We're back.
Yeah, so the 9 research areas, I can outline them. So we've got the world's operating system, which is to support DeFi applications largely, but also DeFi, but also other complex applications. We've then got Ouroboros and Mega, which I've mentioned. The third one is tokenomics, uh, and then I'll just run through the other 9. But global identity, so look at how identity is used, um, online in social, but increasingly in blockchain. Democracy 4.0, so we're in the era of Voltaire now, but that's very much an MVP for democracy. There's lots that one can explore and improve. Hydra is the 6th, interchains is the 7th, zero knowledge capability is the 8th, and then post quantum is the 9th itself. So those are the 9 research areas. Um, we, the vision is that those come together to create an operating system that can do anything for the world over the next 5, 10 years. It is inclusive enough so that you could run digital nation states on it and run, governance at a national level, but it also, you know, through that structure of individual work programs. So within the 5-year vision, we have individual work programs. So you're then reviewing which streams you're prioritizing each year. And then over the 5 years, we have a 2.5-year inflection point where the 5-year vision is reviewed. So you kind of think forward to the end of year 2, you're delivering your end of year 2 report, then you're having a sort of mid 5-year term review. There you're studying everything and you're iterating and you're refining your strategy, and then you're going into the next couple of year sort of annual programs. So it also outlines not just the thematic areas that we envision, but also the tactical and practical way about how you get there, and do that in a way that provides accountability. You know, we have to report, we have to show you what work we're doing, what deliverables we're doing. We provide work plans which have tasks and milestones in. This is all sort of underpinned by reference papers, so previous research. Um, uh, so you know, that structure then, you know, what is within the proposal, and then that gives the researchers the freedom and the bandwidth to go off and pursue those areas of investigation for 6-12 month blocks, before you're then reviewing their work and deciding how you go again. So yeah, it's a big body of work. It's something that, you know, it took 12 to 18 months to prepare. We're still discussing it, we're still refining it, but it's a really exciting piece of work. I know that everyone in the research team, you know, led by Agalos, the chief scientist here, is super excited about it, and you know, we're enjoying, you know, getting it out you know, getting that information out into the community and seeing the discussions taking place. So yeah, it's a sort of a privilege to be part of in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are, you know, a bit quick to criticism, but it is, you know, a massive body of work, and I imagine it's taken a lot of people, you know, just contributing to this for a long time for it to, you know, to have all of these different work streams. I'm curious, how much do you think that Voltaire will slow down the researchers and the development?
Yeah, so I mean, Voltaire is you know, the vision here is delivering blockchain's vision to the world, and blockchain by its nature is obviously
Yeah.
decentralized, and you can't be decentralized unless you don't have decentralized governance.
Hmm.
You know, this transition into via Intersect is obviously a huge community initiative. There's lots of discussions, lots of different opinions. It's a first. We're learning as we go. And you know, we are now early March, and you know, the budget for 2025 is unlikely to be signed. You know, and you know, most likely to be signed in Q2, but it could be delayed even further. So that just gives you an indication of the amount of work and the number of people that are you know,
Yeah.
working on this. You know, the fact that we're a bit behind the original timeline reflects, I think, reflects that huge piece of work. But what you're also doing is you're catalyzing and you're engaging a community and an ecosystem. And you know, the more minds, the more heads, the more, you know, the more you know, engineers that you can bring around you, the better you're going to be in the long run. And what I have learned is it's more important to do things right and do them well, than rush these things, and that gets you from A to B faster in the long run, in most of the experiences I've had. So yeah, I think Voltaire's exciting. You know, there've been some proposed structures around, you know, governance around the constitution, and you know, some of the on-chain actions that are being proposed, and that are being also circulated for being proposed. Um, and it's a, yeah, it's not without its challenges, but it's a I think it's a process that we'll look back on in years to come, and be super proud about what we've achieved, and the foundation that and the inflection that point that we've created, not just for Cardano but for blockchain, and also economic and social impact, and potentially even, you know, I'd like to see environmental impact too, more widely. So yeah, lots of hard work going on, and we're all, you know, paddling as fast as we can under the water to keep the ship moving forward, which I think we're doing a pretty good job on.
Amazing. I appreciate you being here today. Is there anything else that wasn't mentioned, in this interview that you want to get out there before we head out?
I think it's we sort of covered a lot. I'd just like to sort of thank you, Pei, and I was going to ask you actually what your experience is as a founder, and your engagement with the research, because I know we sort of preparing for the call, we sort of touched on it a bit, but hearing and understanding those everyday stories from community members is really important, and that's, I think, we've got we're on a learning journey around that, as it were. But I hugely appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and to chat with you, and we want as many of the community to come in and speak to us and engage with us. That's sort of the real rallying cry, I'd say. So yeah, I don't know if you've got any sort of comments or insights, but the big one is please get in touch. We want to have the discussion. We want to know what we can get better at. Nothing's perfect, but we're all working really hard at trying to get this right and get it right for everyone in the community.
This may be a little bit of a hot take, but in building Atrium, I've realized like how hard things are, and I think that to do a massive body of work like this is like so many minds coming together and so much years of work, and a lot of the feedback that you get when you're presenting things to people, not all of it is good feedback, is my first thought. Like, a lot of people kind of just complain on the internet, and they don't give the body of work that you guys have proposed or put out there as much time and effort that it would take to actually understand what you're proposing. So my first feedback is to take some feedback with a grain of salt and try to discern who is actually trying to help you and who is trying to hurt. If you know what I mean. I mean, that's kind of a hot take. Like, I know we live in this world where it's like, everybody needs to be heard and this and that. But, there's also a lot of just negativity that's not coming from a place of being good or being helpful. So my, feedback, while it isn't on the body of work, is to be careful with the feedback that you're taking, because it may just be to bring you down,
Sure. No, it's a fair point, and it's the world that we live in. But
yeah,
if you're getting up every day, you're working hard, you're doing it with good people, good team, in a largely sort of constructive community. There's lots to be to strive for every day, and those are, I think, it's sort of the more motivating factors that one sort of thinks about when you're sort of applying yourself and giving everything your best. So yeah, I've been a founder, an SME owner. I know the daily strive.
And when you see good criticism, you're almost excited about it. You're like, he got me. That's good.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. If you have any questions or any comments, comment down below. I'm going to put the links that he mentioned, essentially all the links you need, in the description. So if you guys do have, valuable and constructive feedback for the proposal, now is the time. And as he mentioned, Voltaire is here. People have kind of, in the past mentioned that they don't know how they can contribute. Well, now's the time. You really can show up, start putting feedback on posts and consuming information, and joining, Intersect as well, joining the different working groups with Intersect, delegating to a D-Rep, becoming your own D-Rep. There are so many ways on Cardano at this point for you to participate and kind of drive this ship towards a better future. Now's the time. So thank you guys for tuning in. The links for that stuff will be down below. And thank you, Fergie, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Pei. It's great to hang. Have an awesome day.